She was sitting alone at a frozen train station, no family, no money, no hope. Snow kept falling, and no one noticed her. But she didn't know, someone was watching from the shadows. The wind howled through the old train station like a wounded animal. Snowflakes drifted down slowly, covering the wooden platform in a thick white blanket. Every breath felt sharp, as if the cold itself was cutting into the skin. On a lonely bench near the station wall sat a young woman. Her name was Clara Whitmore. She pulled her thin gray coat tighter around her body, but it did little to stop the cold. Her fingers were red and trembling inside worn gloves. A small brown bag rested in her lap, everything she owned in the world. She had been there for hours. The last train had left long ago. People had passed her earlier, travelers, workers, families, but one by one, they disappeared into the snowstorm. No one stopped. No one asked her name. No one cared. Clara lowered her eyes, fighting tears. How did my life end up here? She wondered. Just 3 days ago, she still believed she had a future. She had come to this town with hope. A letter in her pocket promised work at a boarding house. A fresh start. A new life far away from pain. But when she arrived, the letter was a lie. The boarding house was closed. The owner had died months earlier. And the man who sent the letter? No one had ever heard his name. By nightfall, Clara had no money left. No place to sleep. And no one to turn to. Snow gathered on her hat and shoulders as she stared at the tracks ahead. A dark train stood motionless in the distance, its iron body silent and cold. That was when she felt it. A presence. She didn't look up at first. Fear tightened her chest. Being alone as a woman in the winter was dangerous. Being noticed could be worse. But slowly, she raised her eyes. And froze. A man stood several steps away. Tall. Broad-shouldered. Wrapped in a long brown coat dusted with snow. A wide-brimmed hat shadowed his eyes, but she could feel his gaze on her. He looked like he belonged to another time. A cowboy, or something close to it. Her heart pounded. Was he a threat? The man took a careful step forward, then stopped. His hands remained visible, calm. His voice, when he spoke, was low and steady. "Miss, are you waiting for someone?" Clara swallowed hard. Her voice barely came out. "No." The man frowned slightly. "No train either," he said, glancing at the empty tracks. She shook her head. Silence fell between them, filled only by the sound of wind and falling snow. The man studied her for a moment, her pale face, shaking hands, and the small bag she clutched like a lifeline. "You'll freeze out here," he said finally. "I'm fine," Clara lied. He knew she wasn't. After a pause, he removed his coat and held it out toward her. Her eyes widened. "I can't." "Take it," he said gently. "I've been in colder places." She hesitated, then accepted it. The coat was heavy, warm, and smelled faintly of leather and smoke. "Thank you," she whispered. "My name's Ethan Cole," he said. "I work cattle north of here." She nodded. "Clara." Ethan glanced toward the station door, then back at her. "There's a boarding house open on Main Street," he said. "It ain't fancy, but it's warm." Clara's eyes filled with tears. "I don't have money." Ethan thought for a moment. "You can pay later," he said. "Or not at all." Something in his voice made her trust him, not fully, but enough. She stood slowly, her legs stiff from the cold. As they walked through the snow-covered street, Clara noticed how Ethan kept a respectful distance. He never rushed her. Never touched her without permission. That made her feel safe. For the first time in days. Inside the boarding house, warmth wrapped around her like a blanket. A fire crackled in the corner. The owner, an older woman with kind eyes, looked at Clara and nodded without questions. Ethan paid for the room. Clara tried to refuse again. "Consider it a loan." he said. That night, Clara slept on a real bed, the sound of the storm fading beyond the walls. But peace didn't last long. The next morning, a loud knock shook the door. Clara sat up, heart racing. Voices echoed from downstairs. Angry voices. Men she didn't recognize. She stepped quietly to the window and looked outside. Her blood ran cold. 3 men stood in the snow. And Ethan was with them. But this time, his hands were tied. Clara rushed downstairs, ignoring the fear clawing at her chest. "What's happening?" she cried. One of the men turned and sneered. "Stay back, girl. This ain't your business." Ethan met her eyes. "Clara," he said firmly, "go back inside." She refused to move. The men dragged Ethan forward. Their leader, a rough-looking man with scarred hands, spat into the snow. "This man owes us," he growled. "And debts get paid." Clara's heart pounded. "Owes you what?" she demanded. The man laughed. "His past." Ethan closed his eyes. Years ago, Ethan had been part of a violent gang. A life of blood, theft, and regret. He had escaped it, changed his name, and tried to live quietly, helping others, keeping to himself. But the past had found him. Clara stepped forward. "Let him go," she said. "Take me instead." Ethan shouted her name. The men laughed again. But before they could act, the boarding house owner appeared, holding a shotgun. "Leave," she said coldly. The men hesitated. The town sheriff stepped out from behind the building, hand on his revolver. "Problem here?" he asked. The gang backed away. Ethan was freed. Later that day, Ethan packed his things. "I can't stay," he told Clara. "You'll be safer without me." Clara felt her chest tighten. "You saved me," she said. "Now let me save you." Ethan looked at her, stunned. For the first time, someone believed he was worth saving. Together, they left town. They didn't know where the road would lead. But they knew one thing. They would never be alone again.